And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicenda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy in the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire here at Plus One EXP is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games and help amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but once a month, I invite somebody else from the RPG industry to sit down and chat with me about what's happening in the spaces that we inhabit in person, online, and in the business spaces of RPGs on our show Intrepid Merchants. I'm super excited about the guest we have on today for a number of reasons, but I usually just get let straight to people introducing themselves. I don't have a bio for you, so I'm going to let you talk about you in a minute because you're gonna know you better than I do. But I do want to say, like, from a year ago, basically right around now is when you started at Kickstarter. Asher is head of games over at Kickstarter. I went to Gamma for the first time, and people were like, "Oh yeah, the new head of games for Kickstarter is here," and I was like, "Oh, that's fine." A couple of weeks later, I mean, like it was just like, does anybody know anything about them? Like, how are they?
Totally.
Like, and everybody's like, they seem nice, and I was like, great. We just didn't bump into each other. But then a few weeks later, we were at PAX East. You came by the booth, said hi. You had like water and granola bars. We're offering them out, and it was very clear that like you were somebody from like who was accessible, who wanted to have conversations, who was there to show care and concern for people. It really immediately impressed me because not that other previous heads of games at Kickstarter haven't been great people to talk to or connect with. It was literally the most direct care I've seen some come out of in your position, which is just to say, like, the concept of I'm just going to be here in a space, like present to people, helping out, is a very different approach than I think a lot of people have experienced from anybody from a large organization in games. When I stop and have conversations with people at conventions, they're always like, "Well, I don't want to take up your time," and it's like, literally, baby, that's why we're here. Like, I don't know what else it is, but like, it was we had some great conversations that first time around. Like, we just kind of skip across cons with each other, like a lot of people. Super excited we could sit down and make this happen during this month, because there's a ton of things that happen on Kickstarter and on other platforms during the month of February. But for folks who are not familiar with you, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. We just talked about right before we go live. They can't find you online. You're a ghost. But if they want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I mean, I'm around. I just don't talk very much. I am Asher. I'm the head of games at Kickstarter. I've been here. It'll be a year, a week from today, that I joined the company. And before that, I started. Well, my co-founders, my founders of that company say I started it, but I was the first employee of Alchemy RPG. So it's a virtual tabletop. It's real cinematic, theater of the mind focused. So I was there for a long time. I'm still a loving friend. I'm actually at the CEO of Alchemy's house right now, hanging out. And so there I ran like all of our operations. I did a bunch of our marketing stuff, and I ran our Kickstarters. So that's kind of how I got into Kickstarter. And because Alchemy is a platform, it's like really focused on uplifting creators. I did all of our like business development and all of our like networking and relationship building there, or at least got us started. And so, I've been spending the better part of, I guess, like 6 years now, just sort of focused on, for a long time, RPG specific, but now just all games creators like needs. And that's so many kind words that you opened with here. That's like so core to my ethos, is that like if you are a platform or you are somebody that doesn't create but is a part of the industry, it really feels like it's like your responsibility to care for and uplift these people that are making amazing rad games, because without them nothing else can exist, and there's less play in the world, and that sucks.
Yeah. And from my experience of you, like with kind of that, like core creator like care and concern focus. It's also been really good to hear like if I recall correctly, I could be incorrect, like your
Mhm,
background is in a lot of like operations and business
mhm.
development. Even before you got involved in RPGs, you worked for
Yeah,
some
that's
other
right.
really big companies. Can you talk a little bit about like Asher before Alchemy and
Before
RPGs and all that kind of
games.
stuff? Yeah, Asher
Hmm.
before games.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's see. I got out of college in like 2012, and I was in Austin, and I couldn't find a job because I barely graduated.
And because no one could
Um,
then.
yeah, so I got sucked into a job selling timeshares for 3 months. Didn't sell a single one, and then I joined Apple in their like support and small business team. And there I sort of got into the tech world. And from that, I ended up working at a smattering of companies in like product management for some tech companies, for a small startup. I did it for Starbucks for a very short period of time. I absolutely hated that job. And sorry, coworkers at Starbucks. And I did it for a couple of other like smaller, 100-ish person startup companies, and I ran product and operations for a company that made artificially intelligent, well, machine learning action cameras. So you'd like record yourself going on a skydive, and it would like edit the video and sync it to music. It was really crazy, crazy job. But yeah, I have been a spreadsheets nerd for people trying to do cool stuff for a long time now. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. No, I'm super excited about it. I know when you were doing a Q&A with Andrew Lowen in the Crowdfunding Nerds
Yeah.
group, I asked you some real hard-hitting questions. I'm going to bring a couple of them back. But I think this is really important because I think we've had
Yeah.
like different people in different positions at crowdfunding companies
Hmm.
have different backgrounds. They have different
Yep.
ways that they engage with a company. But I think the two of the three questions I asked you were like, what is the game that really like first kind of turned you on to like, oh man, I love play. Like this is a thing I'm interested in, that I'm into. And then the second one is like, what is the game you wish you were getting more to the table right now?
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. I was talking to somebody who has known me for a really long time recently, and I was like, "Yeah, I wasn't really into games until like the mid 2015s," and they were like, "Are you crazy? You forced me to play so many games with you over the years. I don't even know what you're talking about." The game that I always use as an example that where I was like, "Wow, this totally opened my world to games," is Azul. I love that game. The fit and finish of it was so good. The chits felt so good in your hands. Just jiggling that bag of tiles felt amazing. Um, but I also, like Scrabble. God, I've been playing Scrabble since I could read, basically. I love that game. And then I think the game that I really want to get to the table much more, I mean, there's like a list of RPGs where that exists. Like, um, I really want to play a bunch of like ninth level stuff way
Yeah,
more, like
polymorph stuff is
business.
super fun.
Dude, it's so fun. And I haven't yet, but really want to play like Dragonbane because it seems like a really fun game. But I would say like board game. I also love board games. I think I'm one of the two people where that Venn diagram overlaps for me. Ascendancy is like this really awesome 4X hyper complex, super heavy box game. And every time I show side, like point to the box, everybody's just like, absolutely not, dude. No, you need nerdier friends. So I think those are my answers for the time being, but it
Yeah.
changes constantly.
No, I love it. I'm like I said, it is always one of those things that like I always get really excited like by like one of those trajectory things for people. It's also weird to me. I don't think as many people like actually who play RPGs. Keegan, one of our business owners, is the exception to this. I think most people who play RPGs are like a board game. Sure, like I'm happy to
Yeah.
do it. It's really a lot of times the other way around, where it's like I play board games. An RPG, no, I don't do that. And it's like, well, let's look at it. I mean, we're big fans of the sweet spot between like storytelling games, like especially card-based storytelling games. I
Hmm.
love because they kind of hit that sweet spot for everybody where a board gamer is like, I've got things to hold in my hand and I know specific things I'm
Hmm.
supposed to do. RPG people are like, I can flex on role play if I want to. There's a lot of great games that kind of bleed over both of them. There's plenty of people who will talk about a card or board game based game with advancement as being an RPG, and I think it certainly can be, right? I think there's certainly
Yep.
RPG elements in it, but I love those spaces where we can cross over. We sat down with Wheels back when Dicebreaker existed, to talk about, like, do a whole show just kind of like breaking down what we think, and really, like, Dungeons and Dragons tactical play with rules as written really leans to the board game side a little bit more than it
100%.
does to like the RPG side. There's it's just finding those kind of sweet crossover points that people are into. But also, like I said, Keegan will refuse to play anything that smacks of a board game with you. So JP's got some great questions over on YouTube we're going to get to in just one second. Before we dive into some specific questions, then chat a little bit about what's caught our eye in the industry over the last little bit. I should have prepped you for this. I didn't. We talked about other things before we went live. But like as we said, you're a year in next week, right? Like, I would love to hear just what are some of the things in your year at Kickstarter that have kind of surprised you, things you learned that you were like, oh, this would, like, more people should know this. I know the first time you and I met, you totally demystified how projects we love work, like, as a whole. I think there's a lot of things out there that people feel like are super obscured, and kind of like, what are some of the things that, as you kind of cross that veil, that you learned about or wish more people knew about?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. Okay, a lot of it is just what there are so many projects on the platform. And I think a lot of what I have really come to reconcile with is how much innovation there is available left in crowdfunding. I think in so many ways, especially in the RPG space, I think there is a well-trodden path to go down. Like, I tell people all the time, and I mean to write it at some point. There's like 150% point checklist that exists in most successful RPG crowdfunders' heads. That as long as they do those things, generally speaking, they will have a successful campaign. And sort of like really getting into what those things are has been great. I mean, like, I knew them because I had run 3 campaigns by now, but understanding the ways that people are trying different stuff, like the Don't Starve the board game really tried a lot of different stuff with their campaign, and they were super creative with how they managed their stretch goals and how they managed getting people back to the platform all the time. And then I think, like, on the other side, what I have learned a lot about is sort of how the development process works at Kickstarter, because every tech company functions very, very differently. And no matter how many I have worked at, I'm always surprised by the realities of the code base that was built and the challenges that are faced, and sort of how everybody works together. And I've learned a lot about how improvements come to the platform and why, like, when I joined, one of the questions that I asked in my interview was like, it feels really slow. Like, it feels like we could be releasing more features. Like, where are we going with that? And sort of learning how Kickstarter is adapting and working on doing things that more creators have been asking for a long time, has been really great. And I will say, um, let me know if anybody has any product feedback. Yeah, like, literally games at Kickstarter.com.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I have a
I'll
great
shout out.
relationship with them all.
Yeah, I'll shout out, like, I said something wrong the other day because y'all had recently added a feature, and that is you can now do a featured pledge level that will kick to the top, which is one of my favorite things. The first time I used GameFound 4 years ago, Backer Kit was
Yeah.
a way to feature. I said, man, I wish Kickstarter had this. And one of our viewers, Odds and Ends, was like, oh, they do now. And I was like, great,
Yeah.
and there's never been a sense of like, hey, things aren't moving forward, but it is also the first major crowdfunding platform,
Yeah.
like, of its kind, and there is that legacy reality of things do move a little slower, but most of us aren't seeing anything about what's happening
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I also, one of the reasons I'm super excited to have you on again is, like, I think it's easy to think about Kickstarter as this huge company with tons of employees, right? I really love the Kickstarter United
Yeah.
conversation around, like, the importance of the 32-hour work week. And I think people know that, but then people are like, well, why hasn't my email been responded to yet? It's like, we can either have workers' rights for supporting, or your email can get responded to really quickly. We actually can't always have both of those things. it's also okay. Like
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I know it's gotten
Um,
a little bit less intense, but there used to be, I know, like on average, the scope used to be, and this is 2 years dated information at least, three to 400 game products running on Kickstarter on any given month. I don't know if that number is still floats around that level or not. Higher.
Yeah, yeah. So at any given time, when you filter Kickstarter by live projects, I mean, like slowest month that I've seen is around 500, but like today we crested 800. I think there are 806 that were live after the big smattering
Yeah.
of them that launched today. Yeah, and I think last year the number is something like 6,000 game projects were
Yeah.
successful funded last
Yeah.
year.
Oh,
Yeah.
and what I was going to say is historically that number jumped from 300, 400 to about 750, 800 in February during Zine
Yep.
Month. That there were essentially
Yeah. Oh
double the
yeah.
number of projects on the platform. And again, with more platforms, some of that slid off a little bit, but not much. Like there's still, and again, it's still that many games going live for the community,
Yep.
and it's still a lot more games during Zine Quest than I would bet any other time of year, right? Like it is the time of year that we get more small creators who are like, I'm just doing a little $500 thing than any other time of
Hmm.
year.
Yeah, yeah, Zine Quest is definitely the biggest one. I think we've got like 100, we have 136, I think, live Zine Quest projects right now, but I know there's like another 80 or so
Yeah,
that are in pre-launch that are launching in the next couple of weeks.
yeah.
So
And
yeah, it's pretty wild month.
and there will be people who unwisely decide to start building one next week.
A hundred
Like,
percent. A
maybe not
hundred percent.
unwisely. Whatever you're gonna do. Like I'm here for it. We want to support people, but yeah, if you haven't already got it, I think that's great to know. JP, like I said earlier, wanted to know a little bit about the way that Kickstarter gets the word out on RPG products, Zine Quest projects we love, all the emails, anything else like that. I do think that like this is kind of one of the things that we touched on a little bit before we started. Of like, there's been a lot of evolution in what Zine Quest specifically looks like. And I
Mhm.
think it's good to dive into that a little bit. Like, there you are. Before you, there were a lot of people who were kind of in and out within the games
Mhm.
position for a little while there. It was empty for a little bit, right? And
Yep.
before that, we had a pretty consistent team. There have been some other staff members who have been in the game's staff role for a long time. Like Nicole is tremendous. Like there's tons of
Mhm.
great people who are there, but that particular role has had some in and out. You've only been there for a year. You're not responsible for anything that happened before. But I think a lot of people want to know, like for how do you kind of I'm gonna ask you one question while you kind of let that spool up in your mind that's really important. But like let's talk a little bit about Zine Quest and
Yeah.
kind of how it's evolved over the last couple of years from your perspective and kind of maybe what
Mhm.
some of your hopes for the future are. None of this is a commitment that you're making on behalf of Kickstarter. This is just your hopes.
Good.
But before that, the most important question that we're going to get asked that lone archivists toss in the chat like a jerk is what's a zine? Just in
I
your own
mean,
opinion, what would you define a zine as being?
oh my God. Oh, this is such a terrible thing to have to answer. Because there are very divergent
You
opinions.
want me to give
I
you
mean,
the
like,
answer I give people a lot of the time first?
I
I'll be on
yeah,
record.
I'm curious. Yeah.
If your stapler is big enough, the world can be your zine.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's a
I
great
mean,
aspirational bullshit answer that I 100% believe. Um, and I also, if even if something's perfect bound, I'm still fine with it being called a zine. We are not purist in the form factor here at Plus One. We are
yeah,
purist in the sense of like, I think it is important that a zine be something that an individual is trying to express. And I
yep,
think they're trying to do it in an affordable way that other people can engage with and share. Like I think at
yeah,
its core, that's a big part of it. That's my answer, but you can't give the same answer. You got to give a completely different one.
yeah. I mean, a completely different one. Oh my God. Like, I think to some degree, to your point, a zine um, is something that you can bring to a community that is explicitly for community and less about capitalism. I mean, I think like zines, the history of zines is very grassroots, like through and through. That is the whole reason that zines exist is to get information or entertainment to community. And so anything that has that goal, to me, can be a zine. In much the same way that like I think Quinn's Quest Quinn, like 2 years ago was like, we don't actually know what an RPG is. Like
Yeah.
but that is still definable. I think in a lot of ways, I feel that way about zines too.
Yeah. If you, somebody who wants a really strong format, Yeet, me, and Sam Sorensen, who's one of the Zine Month organizers, sat down. Sam has a really great. I specifically think these paper formats make a zine, and some of the in
Mm,
some release formats. If you're somebody who really thrives in a highly structured, go watch Sam's answer from a few weeks ago on the Zemo stream we did. But no, I think that's great. But yeah, that was just a way for your brain to kind of matriculate, like marinate before we kind of dive into like what do you see like the evolution of Zine Quest over the last few years? People are always
yeah.
like, is it going to happen next year? Historically, that was more of a question. It seems like we have really settled back into. We can kind of
Yes.
bank on it happening in February. I don't know if there's a formal answer, but where do you see Zine Quest going?
Yeah, I don't see Zine Quest going anywhere. Like I don't see it going away anytime soon. It is one of my favorite months at Kickstarter for sure. Um, we are having a lot of conversations about what it means to have an open call broadly at Kickstarter. You know, that's like a really important part of Kickstarter's ethos is like making sure that we are creating environments to encourage people to make stuff, you know, like we do Make 100, where you just like you're willing to make 100 of a thing and you run a Kickstarter for it. And Zine Quest is so pivotal to that whole ethos. I think it's not going to go anywhere. We will do it in 2027. There's almost no question in my mind that that's the case. I think where I would really like to see it, um, where I'd like to see like myself do better and improve is being more actively vocal about Zine Quest and about the zines themselves specifically. You know, it's really challenging. It's a conversation we have all the time. You know, as somebody who is like from the industry, who knows a lot of people, I pretty consistently struggle with checking my own bias and like the ethicality of all of any decision that we make in terms of like who we reach out to promote and what, you know, and whatever. And we have some great guardrails around that. But I'd really love to get into some of the beauty of the movement itself more as Kickstarter and just talk about the rad games that are on the platform during Zine Quest. So, and we're talking about that with our open calls, like how do we be more intentional? How do we be more impactful for everybody that is involved? And I think you'll start to see some of those changes come out as we get closer towards the end of the year. But then in next year, I think we're going to do some really cool stuff with Zine Quest that I can't quite talk about
That's
yet.
fine. We'll be excited to scoop that whenever it comes out. No,
Yeah.
no, I think it's great, and I think it's a really great thing to highlight. Like, because I don't think about it that way. Like the open call aspect that you mentioned, like backer kits, like months, events, other things like that. They are application approval, get admitted, be part of a Discord community, which is a different way of approaching things than here's an open call. GameFound's RPG Party was
Right.
an invitation application process. They're hoping with Zine Month to start to broaden that out and do tags and other stuff like that. So there's a lot of like there's a lot of variation in how platforms can approach it, and it is interesting to hear like the open call is an intentionality rather than kind of an assumption, because I think a lot of people, like for me, I would not have thought about like that as an intentional choice so much as a default reality. I you mentioned kind of the communication. I know you can't talk about some of the stuff that y'all have planned. There's a lot of the questions that we've gotten are like, hey, how do people get the word out better? Like, how do they like, you know, like y'all get inundated with emails just with people trying to be like, hey, can I get the Zine Quest tag? Hey, why isn't my game approved yet? Some of which is
Totally.
there's a million different answers for that we can't dive into right now. For people who are looking at whether it's a projects generally during Zine Month or whether it's Zine Quest specifically, what are some of the good basic things you see that like people can do to engage within Zine Quest to help promote their game or get the word out about their game? Like y'all have some internal tools like Project We Love, which we've already talked about. I think people view that in a very different way than maybe it actually functions, but that does get you on some email lists and get you out in some different ways that other games that
Yeah.
don't get that do. Are there other things that people may not be thinking about that are easy ways to navigate the Kickstarter ecosystem to help bring more attention to their own game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, um, to some degree, uh, every platform has an algorithm, and I hear people all the time talking about like, oh, well, if you just do X, then you'll get boosted in the Kickstarter algorithm. Or if you do Y, you'll get boosted in the Kickstarter algorithm. You show up sooner, you'll be more successful, whatever. I have gotten a very thorough walkthrough of how our algorithm works. And it is the most wonderfully, it's like the most shockingly holistic like discovery algorithm that I have seen because it has been like very fine tuned over 17 years now. And what I will say is like it is very intentionally designed to surface projects that are in line with what backers want out of projects. And like that means it's kind of everything. Like there's not a thing that makes it easy for you to get more discovered. What it means is you want to make sure that your page is attractive to the audience that you're attracting. You want to make sure that you're responding to comments in a timely manner. You want to make sure you're engaging people with updates. Like you want to make sure your page is very clearly laid out such that people don't fall off because they're confused quickly, right? Like if somebody comes to your page and they don't understand what's going on and then they leave right away because they don't get it, that's like something that that the algorithm pays attention to. And so with Zine Quest, like getting tagged, if you ever have a problem, you can always get in touch with us. And you can always ask us questions too. Like you opened by being like, you know, I don't want to take up any of your time. That is our job. Like take up our time. I'm here. And I'm so happy to talk to people about it. But generally speaking, make the campaign great in the way that backers will care that it is great. And generally speaking, you will rise above the rest.
Yeah. It's and for anybody who doesn't know, like every Monday, like we're trying to be as fast as possible at it. Quinn Blackwell, who's one of our team members here, and I are going through 10-ish projects that we love. I give a lot of commentary on what works and doesn't work on pages. If you can't watch those for whatever reasons, in Zine Quest 3, I reviewed 260 projects over the course of a couple days. You can go back and find all of those, and a lot of them are
And
me physically deconstructing what's working and not working on a page. Most of that information is still tremendously valid, unless a tool didn't exist at that point in time to do it. Yeah, I did 10 projects at least every day for 26 days out of 28 days. Um, now we only do 40 or 50. There's a lot of other great people in the community who do it. Yeet over at Ninth Level does it. There's a lot of cool folks who are out there who are happy to talk about it. Those things are also great because your game is going to get mentioned with others. People are going to post things on social media. It's a great thing. It doesn't matter. Like, here's a real, like, when people are like, all press is good press, any mention of your game is something you can go out and not have to be like, hey, please back my game for a day. You can say, hey, it was really cool to see, tag that person, talk about my game on XYZ, along with these two other games I love, tag those people. And all of a sudden you now have 4 or 5 people who are going to share your post, know your game exists, be talking about things. And it's a great way to just kind of engage in a little bit of small community engagement around those things. I wish I could go back to every single day stream. I cannot. I'm an older man now. It's 6 years later, and I can't do it. But it is,
I'll blame you.
there are a lot of things like that out there that the community is doing. Onslaught 6 does them on a regular basis. So just keep an eye on those. And people are always surprised when we pick their games. We're just picking stuff we haven't covered yet that looks really interesting. That's live is our big restriction. So for that stream. So no, like I said, like I said, I wanted to dive in a little bit. I think people have some other questions about, like, are there other things you're doing for after, like, campaign fulfillment, other stuff like that. I want to make sure we're keeping track of our time to talk about some of the other things we want to look at. But let's touch on that as one final question before we move into some of the other specific things and look at a couple projects and things happening in RPGs right now. Y'all just launched your own internal pledge manager tool this year. The only thing I've been waiting on, which may already be out because I'm not always up to date, is API integration, because then it'll be a lot easier. However, like Shopify Sci-Fi is super easy to work with if you know how to work a spreadsheet. So it's not a huge limitation for us. Having one internal is great.
Yeah.
What are some things y'all are doing? We've seen that. We've seen late pledges come in. What are things y'all are doing to help people once funding is done? And I know you and I are going to touch on distro a little bit. If we want to swing into that as part of this conversation, that's great.
Yeah.
What are some things that Kickstarter is doing right now to help when funding is done? What happens next? What are some of the tools y'all have been looking at to do that?
Yeah. I think we're sort of continually improving the pledge manager. There's some stuff that we are actively working on there. I just saw that we are in design, and I don't know when this is coming out. We're in design for it. But we're working through digital fulfillment, so you'll actually be able to send out PDFs and
Huge.
stuff like that directly through the platform. Yeah, so it cuts out maybe some of the third parties that folks are less a fan of, that will remain nameless. And I think there's we have some other stuff planned that I can't talk about initially yet. So we have, but like Pledge Manager, we are going to continue to like improve that. And we have some features coming out that will just make that a little bit easier all the time. I mean, I think as the Pledge Manager rolled out, we learned, the product team learned fairly quickly that there's just like a lot of little things. And crowdfunding is not um, a prescriptive and linear path. I think a lot of people approach it in a lot of different ways. And so we learned a lot about what we need and have been building it, and we're going to continue to build it. But I think the big one that's coming is digital fulfillment, and that should be coming here fairly soon.
Cool.
But we have just done a round of features that are really impactful for like mid-campaign
Yeah.
stuff.
A project we're working on. Um, I went back and looked, and they had released an early digital like set of keys through another website, and it was very obvious from them doing that how whatever they did not work for most of the backers. Like it was just that update
Yeah.
was didn't get it, didn't get it, didn't get it, didn't
Oh,
get it. And it's really
no.
funny because even when we were talking, I was like, yeah, we can do this, or this to do digital distribution. And really we can do all three. It doesn't matter. It's digital.
Yeah.
We can send it to everybody everywhere. And they were like, oh, I don't want to do that one. And that was the process they had used before. And so where I'm
Tough.
like, cool, we can just do the other two. It's fine, right?
Yep.
Sometimes your fulfillment partner will have a solve for that for you. If you have your own website, there's a lot of other things you can do that are pretty easy. And again, like I said, if you've learned basic spreadsheet management, which if you had told me when I was a middle schooler learning Excel for the first time that it would be the like software piece that I would come back to wishing I knew more about, I would have told you to go get fucked. Like I would just have been
Hmm.
like, you were wrong. And now I'm like, God, I just wish I was better at spreadsheets. Like there's so much cool
Good.
stuff that you can do with them. And I don't know enough about
Oh
them.
man,
So,
they're great. I
um,
can love spreadsheets.
yeah. Well, let's look at some cool stuff that's happening in the space. One of the things I loved, I just want to shout it out. I usually say like it can be a project, an event, or a topic to people, and people will give me whatever mix they give me. You were like, here's the project, here's the event, here's the topic, which I loved. Like I loved like because it. I may just start asking people to do exactly that. Pick one project, one event, one topic, because it was great. You sent me over a project that now I have lost. There we go. That we're going to talk about a little bit, called Residue, a solo survival RPG. I'm going to pop it up here on the screen, and I'll pop the link into the chat for everybody who wants to check it out. This is not live yet
Yeah.
over on Kickstarter, but it's a solo survival RPG, a sci-fi survival TTRPG set in a non-Euclidean world where resource management intertwines with the mystery of the hum. This is from Weird Place, who did oh man, it's something furry, and I always forget. I
Fluff,
guess I could look on the project.
Fluff and Fury. Yeah.
Fluff and
Fluff and
Fury,
Fury.
which we've been talking about whether we're going to get some of their Fluff and Fury into distro. But they
Right.
also do a lot of content talking about how much they love other people's games on the internet. Really,
Mhm.
really great community. It's huge, and so um,
They're
uh,
just really great people, and I could wax poetic about the art that they used for this campaign for hours. They got, I think it's an album cover designer from Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. I forget the name. I'll try to get it from him. Um, but he had him do all of the art for it, and the art is just such a wonderful. I mean, like it is very zine-esque, but there's like a metal quality to it that is very like stark and clean line. Whereas I think a lot of zines that go with this sort of grayscale art style tend to get a little bit more splattery with it. I
Yeah.
love how clean the line art all is. And the guy who did all of the art was just so into the project that he made a whole font for the game, which is what the font of the cover is. So there's actually a whole functional font for the game.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm like in some ways I'm a design nerd, so I like
yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
Hexavex, tell me a little bit more specifically what you were talking about in the chat. I'll respond if it matters. Um, the yeah, I'm a big fan. Like I've been moving the page down beside us as we've been chatting. Like you hit this section where it's talking about the setting inspiration, and rather than just
Mm.
mentioning them, like I've seen this a lot this year. I think this is really smart. I think it's really strong. I think more people should be doing it, and I really like the way they've done the visualization on this. Like they don't just say, "Hey, it's Blame, Death Stranding, Berserk, Stalker, Solaris, Annihilation." They've pulled the logos of those like physically onto the page. So we're seeing
Mhm.
not only like, hey, these are setting touchstones, but we're seeing kind of the visual inspiration that's crossing over into this, which isn't always going to be the case, right? You're not always going to have a visual inspiration connection, but this does. And so bringing that in really strongly is super, super sharp. Yeah.
Yeah,
The header font is a little unreadable, but not in the way about that like not in the traditional metal way, right? Like it's a
right.
little bit more like um it's a little bit more like acid rock than it is like straight up
Yeah, for
metal.
sure.
Which I do love. Like I there's a lot about this that's really good. I hadn't checked this one out yet. Like I said, we're big Weird Place fans. They gave me a advance copy of Fluff and Fury, like that. It just was tremendous and really cool, and then got to see the final one. Solo games, like we've been talking a lot right now about like right now is the time of solo games. Like we don't know how
100%.
long. Like I don't think they're gonna go away. Like I think people have
Yeah.
realized this is for me or it's not for me. Like I'll buy solo games and I read them and I think about them and I don't play them. I think that's a valid form of engagement with the text. I think
Yep.
depending on the amount of time you spend thinking about it, it may even be play. That's up to I'll leave that to the scholars to debate. But like I'm a big fan of it, and we know that there is a huge audience for this. What we've
Mhm.
seen come alongside that is duet games also too, like really big right now in the space of
100%.
people saying like I want a game for either I can play by myself or I can play with my partner or a single friend I have that plays RPGs. Are you a solo RPG player?
I'm a solo RPG skimmer, I'll say, but I haven't gone through the process of actually playing one out all the way through. No.
Yeah.
Um, it's something that's interesting to me, but I do think that I am the social aspect of RPGs is what drew me to it in the first place, and so um, I tend to spend my time that way more often.
Yeah, I uh the only solo game I've worked on some solo rules. I've done dev on solo rules and we've tried to make sure for accessibility like we include solo rules in games where it makes sense. Um
Totally.
but the only time I've ever tried to design one is a solo adaptation for the Between, the Carve from Brindlewood
Mm.
game by Gauntlet Publications, and it's called The Betwixt. But it is literally meant to be a solo game where you are controlling a character and you're passing that character around the table between sessions. You're doing a little bit of at-home
Oh.
role play, and then you have to create a thing they would have made in the world that gets and you catch everybody up on what happened to this NPC kind of side character when you come back. And so like they're all based on Victorian mode, so it's like the Dickensian detective, and you can write like the outline of a short novella, or they're a preacher and you're going to write a sermon, but it's all about what's happening with Hargrave House, and it's just the ability to like kick out another clue and have this mundane
Mm.
character who's kind of following in the wake of them. That's the only one I've done, but even in that I'm like I still want that moment of like social engagement that kind of crowns that off of the reveal to the table of what's happened, not just a pure
Hmm.
solo play. Um,
I really like that.
JP Kuvert, a great creator in their own right, does shout out that Weird Place has a great YouTube channel also too. I'll see if we can get
They
that
do.
linked later. But yeah, just always creating great things for other folks. I want to look at a couple more projects before we move on. I should have sent you these in advance, but they're all on Kickstarter, so I bet you'll be able to navigate to them pretty quickly, and then we'll hit some of
I guess
the
that I
other things we
would.
talked about. I want to talk about Barcane a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Seppi's project. It was super fun to see them for the first time talking to Scene for Sean about this project. It's a beginner friendly action journal RPG. It's live right now. It's got 16 days to go. It's cruising along really well. Seppi is a really great community member who, like, I know mostly just for like Bag of Destiny, them talking to board game people. I didn't realize how into indie RPGs and like zines they were on the whole. So, this is not a Neopets RPG. That is a thing we could have talked about. It is not on either of our lists to talk about the Neopets RPG. But yeah, have you checked out Barcane already?
Yeah, I mean, I looked through it. I looked through it earlier today, actually, because we were talking about it internally. Um, I really think about, it's so funny. I spend so much of my time thinking about crowdfunding. When I look at a page, I'm like immediately pulling the things that I really love. The visual consistency throughout, alongside like the variations. So there's like a bunch of borders in this that they use as like
Yeah.
treatment to frame the page, but they're all different borders in different directions, and it creates this really amazing. The design of this page is really rad.
Yeah, it was just the coloring book quality and the way they're highlighting it, like, is
Yep.
really great. This is an activity book RPG, which I think in its of itself is like super novel. I think it speaks to like Seppi's really broad understanding of tabletop culture as a whole. And I think
Yeah.
it's really on display here, really clearly that there's somebody who likes board games, like activity games, loves their dog, and a lot of other things that are really easy to get on board with. Yeah, the for me this is a board game thing that you don't see in Zine in RPGs as much, though you do see, like, we do it a lot more than some other people do. Oh man, why can't I think? Magpie will do this a little bit more. The big broad like picture scrolls. Some people are like they're not good
Mhm.
for SEO, and I'm like, SEO is probably not what's driving your traffic to your Kickstarter. Like, you want it to be searchable and findable, but like you're not probably picking up a lot of stray like keywords that are leading people to suddenly discover your dog activity book RPG. I think also, as long as your alt text is in there, right, like, go nuts. Like, I
Yep.
love it. But yeah, it's one of the few different things. But their hero image at the top is also really strong. Like, this is a really clearly laid out like pledge level. And another thing, like, just the visualization for shipping data. This is a dumb small thing, but like, this is really easy for someone to know where exactly to look for the information they need based on
Yep.
country.
Yep.
So,
It makes
um,
a huge difference. Yeah.
any other thoughts about it specifically?
I mean, I would love to touch on the SEO thing. I think people who are really concerned about the SEO, there's like a couple of main points that I would make in like refutation of that. I think two things. One, um, Kickstarter's domain authority is like in the mid 90s. If you're like a real SEO nerd, it's about as high as it can possibly get. And so any project that has ever run, even if your website has the same details and even more, the Kickstarter is gonna show up first for quite some time. Um, and two, if you're really concerned about SEO, what I recommend doing is take this whole page that is mostly images and then create a link to an accessible version of the page, which you should have for accessibility reasons, and build that on your own website with all of the text that you want, so that you
Yeah.
get the SEO goodness um, and not the platform.
Yeah,
So
which then builds the longevity of your own project on
that's
your
right.
page on your back. That's a great note that I don't even think we're doing well enough on our side. It's a little cheaper than I would expect it to be. Like, I would pay
Yeah.
$4 more for this game than it is, which is fine. Like, I think Seppi knows what they're doing, and that's great. And I'm not gonna critique it. Normally, I'd watch the video. I know you and I have talked about like price structure a lot. It comes up a
Yeah.
lot in Zine Quest and Zine Month. Like, people people want to charge a very low rate that is maybe not sustainable for their project and maybe not be effective at helping them meet their goal. And it's something really you've got to think about, getting your pricing like concept down really clearly to be able
Yep.
to hit your goal is, I think, I think it's one of the first things you and I talked about when we were
Yeah.
hanging out.
Yeah, I mean it's so important, and like I love something that Seppi did here in creating the Enchanted edition. I think more projects, if there is like a value proposition to have at a price point that feels too high. Like I remember when we ran the Alchemy campaign, when we were in the Alchemy RPG campaign, we had stopped at 250 and somebody was like, "Hey man, you got to have something bigger than this." And we were like, "No, no value there. People aren't going to want it. That's just not worth it." And it became a hugely non-trivial portion of the revenue of that campaign.
Yeah.
Like just because there are people who want to support you and who are excited to support you. And so I always think you should have something that is like really valuable if you can manage it responsibly and not overtax yourself. Having one of those higher tiers where it's like,
Yeah.
here's all the shit you get.
Yeah.
People are going to be really stoked and do that.
Yeah, it's something we do regularly. You've got to think about how many of them you're going to offer. And what Seppi did here, which I think is a good basic practice if you're going to dip into this, is
Yep.
in charge enough at a very small number that if they all go away, your entire project is funded, right? Like if you're like
Yep.
four backers came in and backed for $250 and I ended up at over like 25% over my goal or 30% over my goal, that's great. Like, and they're all gone. So early on, it's fine to just be like, I'm just doing digital and like the
Totally.
physical. I don't want to do extra, right? Like
Yep.
our mode tends to be like sometimes we'll do like a community copies tier, but we've mostly moved that to add-ons. Like that you can buy them for other people, because if you're in a hardship mode, don't back our Kickstarter. Like
Yep.
it's fine. Like the game will get made without you. But like a digital physical, a premium upgrade. If we do a retail tier, we typically go $1 just to follow along.
Yep.
Like we're not looking to. I mean, I love Kickstarter. We're not looking to give you an extra 5% of everything on that
Especially
purchase.
in retail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then but we will do a premium tier, and then we'll do a ridiculous whale tier a lot of the time. Also, the ridiculous whale tier just exists to make that premium tier look a little
Yeah.
bit cheaper. It is a little bit of pricing manipulation. It's the only thing that we do that is, but that's a legit whale level. Like the best example, Tomb of 1,000 Doors. We had the Tomb of 1,001 Doors, and it was there was enough copies for your entire table for the game, but it was also one. You got an extra page of dungeon in your book that only you got, and you got a little whatever. And the conversation with Matt was, if somebody backs at this level, are you willing to make a single page if they give us $1,000? It's like, that's an afternoon of my life. Absolutely. I will do that.
Yeah.
The person who backed at that level has never reached out about their pledge. Like they were just like,
Yep.
I'm into this. I love it. I want to support it. Super level. But the $150 box that he thought people would not buy as many of, we had to go back and add more of in as a separate pledge level, because that
Yep.
premium level is oftentimes what people will gravitate to. So it
Yeah.
is 100% worth like thinking about.
Yep.
So we're gonna shift modes. Actually, let's look at one more project, then we're gonna shift modes, because I want to talk about Gobs. This is Spencer Campbell's game right now that just went live. I want to talk about it because it's a little bit outside of Spencer's normal. Are you familiar with Spencer and the Lumen system and that? I do.
No, I'm not.
Great Chicago-based creator. Really love Spencer. Background in psychology. He's always pretty close to being able to go full time. They work as a professor though. Has a new adorable child and a consistently adorable dog for years. But they have a system called Lumen that they popularized, which is very looter shooter. You may remember a few years ago that there was a project that was launched that was Warframe inspired, and all the Warframe people, gamers, came in and were like, "How dare you steal from this corporation and use their IP?" And Spencer canceled the project. That was one of Spencer's games. It's now available on itch or whatever. It's a very silly dice game about even sillier goblins. It is not a Lumen game in the sense that other ones are. It is a cute little story game.
Oh yeah.
Spencer's projects are typically way more produced with this. This is Spencer literally just having fun in Zine Month and doing a fun, silly thing that stretches them out in kind of a different way. So it's a dexterity tabletop skirmish game in which two bands of brave goblin warriors known as gobs face off against each other using dice and coins and a few other trinkets from around your house. You'll be ready to play out the next great battle of the Goblin War. Normally, day one, Spencer's going to be at like $4,000 to $8,000 on any project they launch. Again, this is one that it was really great to be like, you're just going to have fun with this one. This is a thing you just want to get into and do something a little bit different. Spencer plays around with like combat and skirmish stuff a lot in their design process. But again, it's a really like simply designed page. There's not necessarily a whole lot of like complex things, but it's also, this is the first time Spencer's done just like, I'm going to draw the art for this game, right? Like, which again, I think this is what Zine Quest is great for. Like, even if you're an established creator, so little solo projects that you just want to do on your own. But yeah, you haven't had a chance to look at it. Take a look at the page. If there's anything that stands out to you, thoughts that you have, other stuff like that, I would love to hear it. Spencer's using the featured pledge level. Look at that. Again, like I would go a little higher, but like I trust people. Spencer knows what he's doing also too. I'm just a big fan of raise your prices generally.
100%.
But yeah, any thoughts from the page?
It's really great. I mean, like, um, even it being as simple as, and I don't even know if this was, I'm sure it was intentional, but the margins on the images that
Uh-huh.
truncate the text breaks up the text visually in a way that makes me a little more interested in what the text is. Like for the most part, when you look at when you look at a campaign, even if it's an RPG that's like 1,000 pages long, the more images the better because people just like aren't reading the campaign page.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that this does a really good job of um, very simply, really just by adding margins, giving me an opportunity to have like a context shift mid scroll and actually stop and look at it and to read through it, which I think makes a difference for conversion. And you know, day one just for fun, 83 backers, $1,200, like very solid.
Yeah. Um,
It's really rad.
and again, I love even this. Like, this is again like somebody who normally comes in hyper polished, like works a lot with Luna P, Mikey Raymond, like
Yeah,
really top notch graphic designers. A lot of the time, their only stretch goal is,
fun.
in the very unlikely case this game funds a great deal over my goal, I have an idea for a stretch goal that involves asking my artist friends to contribute a piece of goblin art to the zines. No details to share on that yet, but that's my current idea. Like,
Yep.
like this could read in a lot of different ways, but Spencer is such a. This is just again like Zine Month is a month where you should take it seriously. Like don't waste your own time and mental energy. There's so many
Yep.
weird brain chemical things that happen when you're funding that if you are not prepared for them can be that they are a lot.
Yeah.
Spencer is kind of like steeled against that, and the ability to then come back and say, I just want to have fun this month and do something that I'm going to enjoy. Like the tone of this entire thing is really just endearing and beautiful and very different from what he's done in the past, which is again what got me really excited about it and one of the reasons I wanted to mention it. The other great thing more people should do, friends projects, especially during Zine Month. Like what
I
else is
love
live
that.
right now? Like yeah, like Axolotl with a Gun we talked about on Monday. Will Yopes did a cover breakdown of it. Endless Times is the End Times trilogy is Adam Bell's like triptych set of games. It's over on BackerKit right now. And Null Space I haven't checked out yet. I'll have to put it on my list to go take a deeper look at.
I saw
But
some people in the Zine Quest thread on Reddit talking about null space.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
really good pledge levels. Has that kind of slightly premium version.
Hmm.
But if you just want to give money, more money, there's that option also too, which is great. I am not and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I am not an early pledge person. Like I'm not. I don't. It's weird to me to be like, hey, the people who show up in the first 24 to 48 hours who just want to back my game and give me money, I'm going to have them give me less money. That always seems counterintuitive to me. I think there are projects where it's a good choice. I've just never had one where it's felt right. What are kind of your thoughts on how early bird pledges work?
Man, it's a good question. Uh, I think that there are better ways to engage community because um, what you're saying really is if somebody's backing in the first 48 hours, the odds that they knew about this project before the project launch are almost certain. And so if you abstract out from there and you say like, okay, how could we help out or do something cool for people who are really excited to back our project, I don't think making a separate tier for early bird is the right way to go for one very specific reason. Once the early bird is done, the tier still exists. And so when people scroll to the bottom, they will see that tier, they will see that it's all gone, and they will say, oh, so I'm not getting the good deal. They
Yeah,
got the
they got
good
the good
deal.
deal.
And so my perspective is like, give people something for following and then backing, if you really want to do that.
Yeah.
Secret rewards are a great way to do that. You can create a private link to your Discord community or your email list or whatever, that you can give, that gives people, a slight discount over the course of the whole campaign and not just the 48 hours for just being a member of your community.
Yeah.
I think there are better ways to engage an audience.
Once I learned, I like again learning secret links worked. Like we're moving to having Zine Club members because like there's really they get if Zine Club members don't back it, that's fine. They're gonna get it cheaper probably whenever we release it on our site because
Yeah.
we secret links let us go. Hey, if you want to back it, here's the discount you would normally get when we do it,
Yeah.
and we can just give you included shipping in your Zine like your monthly order whenever it comes out. Like there's a lot we can do with that, but the fact that it can be a secret link now makes it like way easier, like super great.
Yeah.
So if you didn't know, you can create a link you can send to certain segments of your community that will give them a different rate for backing that is not a visible thing. And so a retrofit says the rule that they often break with backing games is it needs to have an actual play. They break it a lot of the time on cheap indie games. Yeah, I think during Zine Month it's a lot harder. We used to do a ton of actual plays during Zine Month also too. In addition to all those live streams, it's a lot, and it's sometimes hard to figure out how to make all that work. But if you can get some sort of sample of play, my first game, Beards and Beyond, literally I had printouts of mock-ups of the page, and I did like a bunch of video just like talk throughs because I didn't know how to do. I mean, I knew how to do an actual play conceptually at that point in time, but like didn't have anything set up for it. And so think about how you get a little bit of this is how the game actually works, or I can prove to you that this is a real thing on your page, I think is helpful. But I think a quick start does a lot of that also too. And so
Yep.
well, let's pivot away from projects for a second. Let's talk a little bit about topics. You brought up something I'm really excited about. The next chance I'm going to get to see you, and it's something that I am super passionate about. More indie RPG people knowing about, and that's Gamma. We said we're specifically going to talk about how a TTRPG like group can stand out at Gamma. For people who don't know what Gamma is, you want to give us the breakdown?
Yeah, it's the Game Manufacturers Association, but I think it's like now it's like the
Now it doesn't
Tabletop
mean
Game
that anymore. It
Association.
just means
Yeah,
Gamma.
right. Yeah, it just means GAMA, the Tabletop Games Association. Um, and GAMA is a fully business to business convention. It's in Louisville this year. It'll be in Baltimore, I think, next year.
Next year and for the foreseeable future, and man, is that a better choice for me?
Yeah, I get it. Um, I mean, Louisville is not super easy to get to if you're not in the Midwest or
Yeah,
the South, so I'm looking forward to it too. But yeah, so Gamma is a place where you, as a creator or a publisher or whatever, can have a booth and you can get in front of retailers, and the only people that are shopping are retailers. And it's a great opportunity, if you're able to differentiate yourself to get into stores, because distribution is such a challenge, I think, in a lot of ways.
yeah. So we went last year for the first time. We'd heard a lot of mixed kind of up and down things about it, but for people we know who are like professionally zoned in, all of them are like, no, Gamma's great. It was probably one of the most valuable things we have ever done at the scale we are currently at as a company. I really don't hesitate to say that because it is not a gatekeepy thing, but it is a thing that if you show up to, people are suddenly like, oh, you're doing this for real. Like you are serious
Mhm.
about this. The problem is it's like many other things, people don't know that. like,
Yep.
and I think in the board game side of things, people are a little bit more aware of it, but I think even there, it's a little bit more of a hush secret. But like most mid-size RPG companies that I could list off to you that you would recognize will have a booth at Gamma at least every other year. We did not do a booth last year. We do have a booth this year, JP. So this is going to be our first time. So when you said, "Hey, I'd love to talk about what an indie RPG people can do to stand out at Gamma," I'd love to hear your thoughts on that because literally, me and the Gamma forum earlier today being like, I know things we learned, and I'm glad we went and walked around first because having physical order sheets never would have been a thing that I would have thought would be a good idea to have. They
Yep.
are essential.
Yep.
So, yeah, tell me a little bit about what some of your thoughts are about like what you see there and what people can be thinking about as they're going into it, or even what I should be thinking about as we go into it.
Yeah. This will be the biggest year for Gamma from a booth holder perspective. So there will be more booths at Gamma than ever before, I think. And that presents an interesting challenge. You are if you really sit back and you think about who is coming, it's the owners of retail stores who work 367 or 8 days a year. Like they work every day. And this is an opportunity for them to get out of town, but still work and providing an environment for them to like really genuinely shop for what they're doing in the next year. And they're going to make a lot of decisions based on what they see at Gamma. And so the big like easiest tips are physical order sheets, but also sell sheets for your flagship products. Like make sure that you have something that people can grab that they can look over in 10 seconds and know exactly what the game is and why they would want it. Absolutely, like a requirement. Um, and then the other thing is that a lot of people, instead of grabbing the literature, what they'll do is they'll take pictures, have like an Instagram worthy spread of your game on display with like the right page open or the right accoutrement around it so that people can take a really great picture of your game so that when they're flipping back through and they're just taking pictures of racks or they're just like holding a cover up when they come to yours, they will see this like really nice spread of the game because they will absolutely do that.
Yeah. We are confronted with a very different problem than a lot of other publishers. I know you have seen you've seen us at a
Yeah,
booth
I've seen your
before.
booth. Yeah.
But like we put out 40 games a year. like,
Yeah.
like which to me feels if I'm not an indie RPG, if I'm an indie RPG person, I'm like hell yeah, I found the right spot. Like this is the place for me.
Right.
Like I'm gonna find things here I want. I'm gonna be able to customize it to my store. We do onboarding calls for new people. We do optional. They're not like required. Like because lots of people are just showing up because they're like we want Mythic Bastionland or we want Down We Go or we want Moonlight and Rose. They know they're coming in knowing what they want. We'll recommend a few others, but we offer onboarding calls. It's like we have a deep catalog. I want to hear about your store. You tell me what you
Mhm.
want to what works there, and I will tell you from our catalog what I would pay attention to. Right. We also just like here's what moves at conventions regularly for the exact same reason. We know what page to open it up to. We know that the cover catches the eye. We know. So like in our situation, like order sheets are going to be like, hey, the front half is top 20 products. The back half is empty with the ability for us to write SKUs in based on that, or really most likely kicking to let's just set up a digital order for you after the show, right? But like for us, what would you recommend? Like, do you have thoughts on like, given our weird our particular problem slash advantage, what you would do?
I mean, having a zine would probably be useful. But it is an interesting problem. So if I think about the way I've had dozens of conversations with retailers this year for a variety of reasons. Um, and one of the things that I have heard most often is like, one of the questions I always ask is like, how do you make a decision about ordering your RPGs? And you will either have an owner or an employee that is like an evangelist, or what will happen is the stuff will be in the store and it will have been in the store and it will eventually sell out and then they will order more. And
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
It's like purely inertia. And so, in order to get in front of that, like you have a unique challenge because you release 40 games a year. So you want to get new games in front of people all the time. And I think positioning as then this is, I'm just really throwing an idea at the wall here. Positioning yourself as like the variety
yeah,
play, and maybe even like bundling some of your SKUs together beforehand to say like, here is some genre, here are like some
yeah,
affinity groups of games. If you have like a family friendly store, go with these. If you have like a store that leans a little bit more into the more gruesome, go with these. So that people don't have to make individual decisions, but they can say like, Oh yeah, I'd throw this on a rack
Yeah.
at my counter and let people sift through it.
Yeah, we launched with Zine Club. We could do a sports package. We launched with Zine Club with a friendly local game store option, and it was because we know that some people are like, I just don't know what to get, and if you are going to
100%.
send me new 5 copies of new things every single month, great. Like, because I don't
Mhm.
have that expert, and if it doesn't sell, like, I mean, Zine Club at this point for people basically gives them like what would typically be distro rate, so it's like 40% off of MSR, sorry, 60% off MSRP a lot of the time. Like, it's a way better deal. That number will catch them, but just like the, oh, I can sign up and it's just going to come and you're going to give me digital is oftentimes a big win. So that'll get a big feature for us because it's a huge part of what we do. 28 of those 40 games come out through that program. And I think the
Mhm.
other thing for us is getting people to understand, like, we are a hybrid publisher distributor. In addition to those
Yeah.
40 games, we're going to have another 20 to 30 games that we pick up in a year that we are doing distribution for. And some of those are games like Mythic Bastionland that we are the US distributor for. Like if
Yep.
you're not getting it unless you get it through us, and it is a game that we moved 10,000 copies of last year, like just through that alone, which if
Yeah.
that's a number that people are hearing and feel overwhelmed by, it's all Chris, baby. Like, thank you, sir, Sir McDowell for being a wonderful partner for us. And we know Stone Top this year is going to be a very similar
Yeah.
thing. Like, we are rushing to get a dummy of it so we can just have it open to a beautiful interior page because we know there's a
Mhm.
Quinn's review coming and we know a lot of other great things are like in store for
Yep.
that game. So we're just like, we got to have it at Gamma in front of people. But no, I appreciate that. Speaking of distro, like, that is a challenge for people, and I think it's weird. It's in the month of Zine Month, like in Zine Quest, when you're people are like, I'm trying to fund for 100 copies or 200 copies.
Well,
Like, that's like distributors buy 100 copies or
Right.
200 copies, right? And they're usually not looking to work with somebody who only has one SKU, but it's a good thing to know about. It is the biggest barrier. Meeting Tiffany from Southern Hobby, like meeting Scott from GTS, right? Like, getting to go to Gamma and connect with people who are interested in smaller titles, because like a lot of people are like, A4s are moving slower and slower. They're
Yep.
expensive. Lots of times
Yep.
the market is tapped a little bit more. Smaller titles are moving faster because they're more affordable and people can grab one or two of them and get as much gameplay as they might get out of a larger system. Um, Talk a little bit about, like, for people who may not be familiar with like the importance of that layer. And we can even think a little bit like, if you're a small creator right now, what are some of the things that you should be doing to work yourself closer to distribution? For folks who don't
Yep.
know, I'll cue it up. Distribution, basically, there's consolidators, there's distributors, there's a lot of, and different people will use those terms interchangeably. Distributors are people that typically game stores are going to go to buy a whole lot of product for. Southern Hobby is one I
Yep.
mentioned. You can look them up online, but they're going to carry board games, RPGs, and a bunch of other stuff in a big warehouse.
mhm.
And the stores can go to them and buy from a ton of different publishers rather than having independent relationships. Consolidators are typically a step back further than that, which they are
Yep.
usually doing distribution, but also deep storing large amounts of goods also too. But Asher,
Yeah.
what are some of your thoughts for folks about that?
It's a huge uphill battle, and like I don't want to pretend that it's easy. I think that's like the biggest thing that I can impart. Um, the thing that a small RPG creator can do right from the start is talk to retailers, because when you go and you have a meeting with a distributor, your distributor is going to say like, okay, like what's your footprint look like? How many copies have you sold? Like tell me a little bit about this game. And a lot of times, a lot of the no's will be followed by, but have people ask me for the game, like have retailers ask me for this game. And if you can go to them and you can say, I have a footprint of like X number of retailers, that really means something to them. And realistically speaking, you'll make more money on those retailers than you will if you sell through distribution. So it's a worthwhile endeavor for you anyway. And it gets more people playing your game,
Yeah.
which I think is like the way that you end up selling many, many copies of your game is by people actually playing the game, which is another bone I really have to pick with the RPG industry in general, um, in terms of how we could be doing better. But I think like
Go ahead and say more. Pick that bone right now.
I just like you cannot make games and then just fucking hope people play them. You need to organize worlds wherein people play your games. Like I'm wearing a Limithron shirt and I love those guys. One of the biggest and smartest things that they ever did was just like they have a presence at every major show and they're running a shitload of
Yeah.
games. And like that is such an important part
And Luke
because
did it
they're
early.
controlling
Like Luke did it
early.
early. Like it was the year it was dropping. Like
Yes,
organized play was happening. Now, did they benefit from Morkborg existing already?
of
Absolutely.
course.
But
Of
it was
course.
getting a group of people together who were just already going to these shows and saying,
Yep.
"Will you run my game? We'll help with your badge. We'll let you all
Yep.
crash in an overcrowded room together." But you're going to also meet a ton of great people who are super into what we're doing.
Yeah, and they were able to craft this environment where people's first experience playing Pirate Board wasn't just them cracking open the book and playing it with their friends. It was like people who know this game, people who are able to GM it and to really showcase what makes the game amazing. I think like we need to see more people doing that because it's wild. I think Tyler over at Limithron, who's like one of my best friends, said to me that they were the third most played game at Gen Con,
Yeah,
like third most scheduled RPG at Gen Con.
yeah.
Um, and that was like a revenue driver for them too, because people just know that they go to shows and they're like, oh, I got to play a pirate board game. It's such a great experience. Why would I not do that? And I think a lot of people need to do that way more because then it establishes demand and then retailers will start asking for it. And then you will end up in distribution much easier.
It's one of the whole reasons. I mean, plus one, we started as a media channel, and it was we want to play RPGs. We want to play them friends at the table style. We want to play them exegetically
Yep.
to show what it looks like. And the friends at the table style, so it is like what it will be when you sit down. Like there may be somebody
Yep.
on the stream who's just trying to do a bit the entire time because that's what happens at your table when you crack open a game. And we're not
Yep.
like stop doing the bit. We just treat it like a normal mode of play.
Hmm.
But then we wanted to do the short review videos because like we wanted onboarding tools. Like we want to be able to give
Yep.
people the ability to say, you want to play this game with your friends, here's 5 minutes that's going to teach them character creation and core
100%.
mechanics to get up and going. There's a lot of things, and again, like I said, you may not be able to be like to afford an actual play or to get on somebody's schedule. There are plenty of people out there who will do it, and there are more all the time. As we
Yep.
realize, like the goal is just to see people and get people playing, help them
Yep.
understand. Like going back to retrofits, call it of like that's what they look for. And if you can't, walking through examples of play on video, like top down view over printouts of your game, or just the dice mechanics. Go watch the video on Axolotl with a gun. As John just kind of overheads some
Yep.
spreads of the game with a bunch of dice in a vertical TikTok video style. It's a great intro video to their game that is very simply done using stock art and other
Mhm.
stuff like that and just talking over it and using some like there's a lot of things you can do to show people the play of the game. But yeah, I mean, we're big fans of like people when people come to us about publication, sometimes it's just like this is obviously a one and done concept, but the bigger question we have lots of the time is what more do you want to do with this? Because if you want
Hmm.
to continue to drive the culture of this game, as a publisher, we're more excited about it because we
Yep.
know 18 to 20 months from now, we're going to be able to release a little expansion or something else like that.
Hmm.
And we're super into it. Those can seem like really big things, but I also know, like, in my conversations with like Tiff over at Southern Hobby, like, we have had bigger conversations around a lot of their salespeople don't understand how to sell RPGs to stores and need
All.
help and support with that. So like we've had conversations about like what can we as content creators do? What can other people do? But having actual play samples that you link to on the back of your game or somewhere on your sales page or your sales sheet that say, "Hey, want to understand how this is played, go watch this thing," is incredibly helpful also too. So we're at an hour and 16 minutes. We probably didn't hit all of distro, but there's probably pretty good help. The other thing you probably heard us
Yeah.
mention a little bit was a sell sheet. If you don't, nothing else, go look at Bully Pulpit Games sell sheets. They're really well laid out. They're really easy to do. You could do something similar if you wanted to. It's not a lot of information. We have a very specific model that we use. If you want to see the ones that we use at Plus One, I'm happy to share our model with you because, again, we basically stole it from Bully Pulpit and then added in the things we wanted to be able to do. The major thing we
Yep.
did was we made it so that the bottom can be cut off and used as an insert underneath the game on the shelf to explain what the game is. That was my major product development on my sell sheet. Was it's also a bookmark slash like bookshelf mark. So Asher, this has been great. I do have one major difficult question for you. Whenever I say Asher, head of games at Kickstarter, what plays in my head is the Yu-Gi-Oh theme song, right? Like because you aren't king of games, but you are head of games. We've done a lot. We've got a couple different things in the work with Yu-Gi-Oh themed games this year that are not card games. I don't know if are you a CCG fan at all? Are there any CCGs in your background?
I am more of a Magic guy, but yes, for
All right.
sure.
If you had to pick a Yu-Gi-Oh or a Magic card that is your Dark Magician, what is it?
My God, Dark Magician.
Well, Dark Magician just mean
Uh,
that's Yugi's go-to for most of the game. Like it is the one that
yeah,
that represents the deep nature of their soul.
yeah. You know what? Thought Vessel, man. It's two CMC mana rock, very simple. I love the art behind it. It's like one of my favorite Magic cards of all time, and it's cheap and accessible. And I'm tired of scalpers ruining CCGs in general. And so my card is Thought Vessel. It's not even that great a card. It's not optimized, but it does what it needs to do, and I love it for that.
Awesome. I'm going to release you in just 1 second. A couple quick shout outs. We've got a bundle. We're live right now. We aren't crowdfunding anything currently, but we do have a project going live next week over on Kickstarter at ttrpg.link slash Merker. It is a cross-compatible Morkborg game where characters from every different Morkborg universe are fighting against each other in a battle game show royale. Go check that out over at ttrpg.link slash Merker. I'm dropping it in the chat right now. But we released 4 games this month. We usually release just 2 games, but we put out 2 extra games as part of a Zine Month bundle. You can search Zine Month bundle over at Plus One EXP. To find that, Heir of Swords, 86th Bear Witness, and the Quick Start for Soothe the Wardens. 4 amazing creators. Go check it out. It'll help support everything we do. Or go to RPGZine.Club and sign up for Zine Club. Next thing we've got coming up tomorrow, we've got we pulled them back, baby. We've got Kyle Latino, the Map Crow, joining us live here on stream for a zine planning page by page, how to create a book map before you even start designing, so you know what the layout of your game is going to look like. And then, oh man, I totally blew out the image on this one for some weird reason. I'm just going to transfer it anyways. Next week, we've got Contractual Considerations with Noah Downs on the 17th. Noah's a name partner at a law firm. We're going to sit down and look into some of the things that happen around the contract conversations with the Azeba's Bed and Breakfast. We're not going to go too deep into the specific legal realities of that situation. What we are going to do is talk about tools and conversations that freelancers and contractors should be looking at as they're entering into conversations about RPG creation. So that's what our slate and lineup is for the next little bit. We've got a couple actual plays tossed in there during the time, but you can keep an eye on all of our social medias for all that stuff. Asher, if people want to find you, games at Kickstarter is the best way to reach out, correct?
I mean, if you want to reach out to me directly, I'm Asher at Kickstarter.com. Please feel free, do it. But I have an amazing team too that is like all over the world. So don't hesitate. Like games at Kickstarter.com. If you have like general questions, if you want to connect with me specifically, Asher at Kickstarter.com is the best way to get in touch.
Awesome. This has been great to have you on. Super
Oh,
excited.
so great.
And until next time, we'll see you down the road on the next episode of Intrepid Merchants. Have a great night, everybody.